Hey, Steph Smith here from Beat VM, and today I wanted to do a little public service announcement about breath attacks. So, a lot of people prescribe breath attacks, especially teachers, as kind of a cure-all for articulation, and I'm here to tell you that that doesn't necessarily work, unfortunately, and I just wanted to encourage people that have maybe tried breath attacks as a solve for articulation issues and it not working for them. I don't want them to feel like they're abnormal at all, because in order to actually articulate properly and with the best sound and all of that, the air and the tongue have to work in tandem. And so if you're just working on the air and you're ignoring this tongue aspect, it's not necessarily going to work. And there are really a lot of benefits to breath attacking. It's just articulation isn't necessarily one of them. Okay? I mean, it might help a little bit in terms of getting the airflow right, getting the right airspeed, and the amount of support that you need for that specific note, getting your ears trained up. But in terms of actually using the tongue to articulate and to start a note, it doesn't necessarily help, because you could be having too much tension in your body before you go to play. And so when you have too much tension in your body, unfortunately, sometimes the tongue can get a little bit stuck and cause a hesitation or a stutter or like a complete block, where you are actually unable to release the note right away, and that can cause you to chip the note. It might be very micro, but in some cases it's really, really pronounced, and it can be the absolute worst. It usually shows up when you're really stressed at an audition, or if you have to play something where you have to start all by yourself with no conductor or downbeat or anything to distract your brain. That's when this can get really hairy. So a lot of people will prescribe breath attacks to try to fix this issue, and it just unfortunately doesn't really work. So I also have this analogy that I want to talk about, and I usually use a water bottle, but today we are using a shampoo bottle, and it's kind of cool because inside this shampoo bottle is shampoo, and it can kind of give you a nice visual for what's going on in your body. Like, you could think of this as like the viscera inside, or your diaphragm even, right? So this shampoo bottle is kind of how our body works. So when we inhale, air rushes in, and when we exhale, air rushes out. And so unfortunately, with this tension that people have from, it could be anything from mentally stressing yourself out or just habitual tension patterns, you could accidentally be squeezing this water bottle. Or I keep saying water bottle because that's normally what I use, but the shampoo bottle. You could be accidentally squeezing this shampoo bottle, and when you go to put the tongue and the articulation on it, what happens is it gets stuck, okay? The air gets trapped inside the body, and then you have to release that tension in order for the air to come back out. Okay, and so that is what happens when we are struggling with articulation. If you're getting stuck, if there's a hesitation, sometimes even just a chipped note here and there can actually be a small version of what's going on here. And this is what I call the Valsalva maneuver, which is a reflex in your body that causes air to be trapped inside, okay? It causes your tongue to get stuck, but you have no conscious control over it. And so with breath attacking, right, you may still be squeezing this shampoo bottle a little bit, but you're just, when you go to exhale, it's still coming out, right? But unfortunately, when you were to put the cap back on it, it would still get stuck. So you may think that breath attacking is fixing this issue, but really, you're just not putting the lid back on the shampoo bottle, okay? And so when you go to use the articulation, you haven't actually solved anything. And I, for years, used breath attacks as a Band-Aid to cover up this issue that I had where I could not articulate a single note on the instrument. And I could breath attack every note on the entire instrument. So my ears were really good. I had my face muscles just right. I wasn't using too much tension or anything like that. But because of this air tension problem, I could not articulate at all. And so breath attacks in that scenario is not helpful. So if you are trying to help someone and you don't know how to help them with their articulation, I would suggest just sending them over to my website, www.beatvm.com. There's some really good resources on there. I also have a book and an online course that go through this exact problem. And it can start off really, really small as like something that seems like a non-issue that might just work itself out later down the road if they stop thinking about it or over-analyzing it. But unfortunately, that might cause them to snowball later in life. A lot of people have a little bit of this problem, like a small issue, and then later, years down the road, it mysteriously disappears, and then there's anecdotal evidence that they might get focal dystonia. So I'm really passionate about making sure that we don't just cover up this issue with simple fixes like breath attacks, okay? It is a Band-Aid and not a cure. So if you haven't yet, check out my website. I hope this was helpful. Have a good day.